The Adventures of Jonathan Wild, The Curious Case of the Haunted Library, a fictional short story written and produced by Pierre Anthony and narrated by me, Andrew. The Mysterious Invitation. Jonathan Wild was known across the land as a master detective, a man whose intellect and deductive skills were unrivaled. His reputation had spread far and wide, and it was for this reason that he found himself standing at the entrance of the ancient Willowmere Library on a misty October evening in the quaint town of Ravensbrook. He had received an enigmatic letter earlier that week, written in an elegant script and sealed with crimson wax. Dear Mr. Wild, your expertise is urgently required. The Willowmere Library has been plagued by inexplicable occurrences that have left the staff and patrons in a state of perpetual fear. Ghostly apparitions, eerie whispers, and books that seem to move on their own are just a few of the unsettling events reported. Please come at once. Yours sincerely, Eleanor Fitzwilliam, Head Librarian. Jonathan read the letter again as he approached the library's grand entrance, flanked by towering stone gargoyles. He had encountered many peculiar cases in his career, but the prospect of a haunted library piqued his curiosity more than most. Inside, the library was a labyrinth of tall, dark wooden shelves filled with countless volumes. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment and leather bindings. Jonathan was greeted by Eleanor Fitzwilliam, a woman in her mid-50s with a stern yet kind face framed by silver hair. Mr. Wild, thank you for coming, she said, her voice steady but laced with concern. We are at our wits' end. The disturbances have been escalating, and we fear for the safety of our staff and patrons. Jonathan nodded, his keen eyes already scanning the surroundings. Tell me everything, Ms. Fitzwilliam. I need to know every detail if I'm to solve this mystery. Gathering clues. Eleanor led Jonathan through the library, recounting the strange occurrences. Books flying off shelves, ghostly figures appearing in the reading rooms, and a chilling whisper that seemed to come from nowhere. The disturbances always happened after dark, when the library was almost empty. As they walked, Jonathan took note of the library's layout. It was a sprawling building with multiple wings and floors, filled with nooks and crannies that could easily conceal a trickster or a spirit. They stopped at the central reading room, a large, circular space with a domed ceiling painted with celestial scenes. This is where most of the disturbances occur, Eleanor said. It's as if something is trying to scare us away. Jonathan examined the room carefully. He noticed subtle details. A slight draft coming from the east wall, the faint smell of smoke lingering in the air, and a peculiar resonance when he tapped the floor with his cane. Has anyone been hurt? He asked. Eleanor shook her head. No, but the fear is real. Our patrons are too frightened to visit, and the staff are on edge. Jonathan nodded thoughtfully. I will need to spend the night here, to observe and investigate. Eleanor hesitated but agreed. Very well, Mr. Wild. I will make the necessary arrangements. A night of hauntings. As night fell, the library grew eerily quiet. Jonathan sat in the central reading room, surrounded by shadows and silence. He had brought with him a satchel of investigative tools, a magnifying glass, a notebook, a flashlight, and a revolver, just in case. Hours passed uneventfully, and Jonathan began to wonder if the ghostly happenings were mere exaggerations. Just as he was about to nod off, a chilling whisper echoed through the room. Get out of here. Jonathan's eyes snapped open. The whisper seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. He remained still, listening intently. The air grew colder, and a ghostly figure appeared at the edge of the room. A translucent woman in Victorian attire. Who are you? Jonathan called out, but the figure vanished before he could get a closer look. Determined to uncover the truth, Jonathan began a methodical search of the library. He moved from room to room, floor to floor, examining every corner, every hidden passage. In a forgotten section of the library, he discovered an old journal tucked behind a row of dusty tomes. The journal belonged to a man named Edward Langley, a former librarian who had worked at Willowmere over a century ago. As Jonathan read through the entries, a tragic story unfolded. Edward had fallen in love with a young woman named Isabella, who frequented the library. Their love was forbidden, and in a desperate attempt to elope, Isabella had died in a tragic accident within the library walls. Edward, heartbroken and consumed by guilt, had taken his own life shortly after. Jonathan felt a pang of sympathy. Could the spirits of Edward and Isabella be behind the hauntings? He mused. He needed more evidence to be sure. The Hidden Chamber. The next night, Jonathan returned to the library, this time accompanied by Eleanor and a few brave staff members. He shared his findings with them, and they agreed to assist in the investigation. "There's one place we haven't checked," Eleanor said, leading them to the East Wing. "There are rumors of a hidden chamber, a secret room that was sealed off long ago." They searched the East Wing meticulously until Jonathan found a concealed latch behind a bookshelf. With a creak and a groan, the wall slid open, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. The hidden chamber was small and claustrophobic, filled with cobwebs and dust. In the center of the room stood a large wooden chest, its surface covered in strange symbols. Jonathan's heart raced as he approached it. "Stand back," he warned the others. He carefully opened the chest, revealing an array of old books, trinkets, and a faded portrait of a young woman. "Isabella," Eleanor gasped. This must have been Edward's secret hiding place. But why seal it off? As they pondered the mystery, a cold wind swept through the chamber, and the ghostly figures of Edward and Isabella appeared before them. Their expressions were sorrowful yet peaceful. "Thank you," Edward's spirit whispered, "for freeing us from our torment." Isabella smiled sadly. "We can finally rest." With that, the spirits faded away, leaving behind a sense of tranquility. The temperature in the chamber returned to normal, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The unveiling. In the days that followed, the hauntings ceased, and the library returned to its serene state. Jonathan, satisfied with the resolution, prepared to leave Willowmere. "Mr. Wilde, I cannot thank you enough," Eleanor said, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You have saved our library and brought peace to those poor souls." Jonathan smiled. "It was my pleasure, Ms. Fitzwilliam. The past can often cast long shadows, but it's our duty to uncover the truth and bring light to the darkness." As he departed, Jonathan felt a sense of fulfillment. The case of the haunted library had tested his skills and his compassion, but in the end, justice and peace prevailed. And so, the adventures of Jonathan Wilde continued, with each new mystery bringing its own challenges and revelations. But the curious case of the haunted library remained one of his most memorable, a testament to the enduring power of love and the importance of uncovering the truth, no matter how deeply it may be buried. That day he learned something valuable, that ghosts are not real, but nothing can stay hidden, and at some point, the truth will emerge, bringing freedom for those who tried to conceal it because of shame and regret. In the chest was the diary of Isabella. They forged their deaths to be together, and the aberrations were created by them, to ensure the discovery of their forbidden love, the truth about their deaths, because the guilt of what they have done compelled them to reveal their secret. Nothing stays hidden. This was a short audio story by Pierre Anthony. Please be on the lookout for more adventures of Jonathan Wilde, and I hope you enjoyed it.